already out of season. So unwanted even by myself. Tell me what the hell, what the hell. I don't like what's at my core. Pray to God to fix my soul. But I don't need God's forgiveness, I need yours.
I'm crazy.
Watch the blood get spilled. You can kill or you can be killed. It doesn't really matter what I feel. I would rather fake than make the pain real. Oh, take that smirk, wipe it off your face. So you would do the same shit if it let you change your fate. If life is nothing but an endless race, you bet your ass I'm getting first place. Please somebody get me out of here. Please somebody, won't you get me out of here? Oh, you can get me out of here. Yep, that's right, let your dreams take flight. Watch the line go up, until it breaks right through. Close a hole through you, you can feel it up, feel it up, feel it up. And all the meat will slide off the bone so nice. You can eat it up, eat it up, until you're full of life. It's a goddamn vibe, baby, fuck it up, fuck it up, oh, we can fuck until the sun burns out. We can rock for clout. Die upon your hill, I live apart from love and goodwill. And when the pain comes calling for my head, yeah, I would rather hurt than be happy and dead. Oh, fuck your frown, baby, spare your grace. Now I'm wearing my crown, perfect framing of my face. All the details surgically replaced. It's a crying shame, a pathetic disgrace. Please somebody get me out of here. Please somebody, won't you get me out of here? Oh, I'm not getting out of here.
Let's go.
That's right, let your dreams take flight. Watch the line go up, until it breaks right through. Close a hole through you, you can feel it up, feel it up, feel it up. And all the meat deep fried with the garnish inside. You can eat it up, until you're full of life. On the edge of the knife, baby, cut it up, fuck it all. God, a waking nightmare. I live a life so hollow that I'm not even there. Oh God, the light won't save me. Oh, I'm a perfect tempered instrument and life is gonna play me. Come and fuck me till the sun burns out and I rot for maybe not a single real reason. My blood's already out of season. So unwanted even by myself. Tell me what the hell, what the hell. I don't like what's at my core. Pray to God to fix my soul. But I don't need God's forgiveness, I need yours. watch the blood get spilled. You can kill or you can be killed. It doesn't really matter what I feel. I would rather fake than make the pain real. Oh, take that smirk, wipe it off your face. So you would do the same shit if it let you change your fate. If life is nothing but an endless race, you bet your ass I'm getting first place. Please somebody get me out of here. Please somebody, won't you get me out of here? Oh, you can get me out of here. Yeah, that's right, let your dreams take flight. Watch the line go up, until it breaks right through. Goes a hole through you, you can feel it up, feel it up, feel it up. And all the meat will slide off the bone so nice. You can eat it up, until you're full of life. It's a goddamn art, baby, fuck it up, fuck it up. Oh, we can fuck until the sun burns out. We can rock for clout. Die upon your hill. I live apart from love and goodwill. And when the pain comes calling for my head, yeah, I would rather hurt than be happy and dead. Oh, fuck your frown, baby, spare your grace. Now I'm wearing my crown, perfect framing of my face. All the details surgically replaced. It's a crying shame, a pathetic disgrace. Please somebody get me out of here. Please somebody, won't you get me out of here? Oh, I'm not getting out of here.
Let's go.
That's right, let your dreams take flight. Watch the line go up, until it breaks right through. Goes a hole through you, you can feel it up, feel it up. And all the meat deep fried with the garnish inside. You can eat it up, until you're full of life. On the edge of the knife, baby, cut it up, it all gone away.
Hello? There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be doing some Steam Next Fest demos today. It's going to be just like a whole bunch of bullshit. Some of this might not actually work on my machine. We'll see. Depending on how many we get through, we might end up doing some other stuff too. But yeah. I noticed that was going on for today, and I didn't really have like a full proper plan for today, so this works out honestly perfect. You boot first one up. I've always kind of meant to do Next Fest because it seems like fun, but every time I like remember it's happening, it's always like over by that point. All right, go. This one is Desktop Explorer. The puzzle game? I know very minimal about a lot of these games, so they may be good, they may be bad, they may be god awful. We will see. But I hope you're doing good today, chat. I'm a little sleepy. Didn't really get super good sleep last night, but I'm doing good otherwise. Let me make sure this has good audio. Oh, I realize I'm gonna have to do this for all of this. Oh no. Delete this.
Hungry pizza for me. Give me slice now. Like,
Actually, I can just rename this to Next Fest. There we go. You work smarter, not harder. About to 100%. All I know about this one is that it's a puzzle game that is kind of based on like old operating systems, which, if you know my past with puzzle games, God help us. All right, what am I? My Halaboot? Maximum. Oh, these require passwords. Okay, let me... Password. Rock and roll. Okay, okay, fine. We'll log into the fish one. Okay. Place mouse and keyboard, buy speakers compatible with PC, connect to the internet. Ethernet port is completely broken. Check chronolog software. Should be somewhere in my start menu. Okay. Chronolog. Whoa. Welcome to Chronolog. Select an entry to read its contents or create a new one to get started. Happy journaling. For the brightest last in the 7 seas, every day has become a bit harder for me to remember. Every once in a while, I'll have what my doctor calls lucid periods, and recall memories I may never think of again. I leave you this information along with my computer. There are other users, previous owners of this computer. Oh, dude, we got ourselves a haunted computer, huh? We got ourselves a creepypasta. We bought it at a fucking flea market or something. It's gonna spew its realistic blood outside of the ports. There's a strange program called Desktop Explorer. It's in the Open Me folder on my desktop. Password for it is your nickname. It's all related to the disappearance of somebody I cared about. I swear to God, this is a game that like accidentally doxes me or something, because I've played a few games like that will be like, hey, look at that, we have your computer's system information. Spooky, huh? And I'm like, wait, I don't want that while I'm streaming. It's fun, it's cool when I'm not streaming, but when I'm streaming, no. Creepypasta, that sounds delicious. That's true. You creep in my pasta? I don't want to know what that means. In this computer, you'll find my most intimate thoughts. I trust you with them since the only thing I admire more than your wits is your kind heart. I want to end this, Jesus. I want to end this letter with a poem. If we are apart, look at the moon. For I will do too. If I am gone, look at the stars. For I am with you. Goodbye, Guppy. Your uncle. Oh, okay. Okay, Guppy's detective log. So my name is Guppy. Today was the last day before my uncle left for intensive care. It was very surreal having him hug me while I was crying because he didn't know why I was sad in the first place. Oh, this is his old computer. I replaced the mouse, keyboard, and speakers, but I couldn't hook it up to the internet connection. It doesn't really matter. Everything I need is here. I just read the letter he left me. I thought I had no more tears left in me, but I was wrong. I feel like this is the start of a detective mission. It's time to install Desktop Explorer and see what this is about. Password for the folder. Uncle Hal is the only one to call me by that nickname. This is for you, Captain Halibut. Okay. Captain Halibut. Halibut? I don't know. Okay. So we gotta find the... I couldn't connect to the internet. MySpace.com. Oh, no internet. Oh, okay. I could go to previously visited pages. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's... But am I trying to go on the web server yet? I don't think I am. sketchy. Oh, it's open me, right? Remember now. I have. No. Oh, okay. No. Pizarro, I was drawing. Oh God. It's just playing the noise infinitely. Wait a second, I remember you. You remember me? It's your old friend, Pizarro. I'll go over everything as if it were your first time installing Desktop Explorer. Ahem. Desktop Explorer offers the best experience when understanding the user's needs. Let's see what we're working with. Wow, I see you're a pretty average user. Nothing wrong with that. You'll be presented with puzzles around basic computer usage. Pretty simple stuff. The puzzles will look like this. Your goal is to find the password and unlock the next puzzle folder. It won't always be this easy, though. Also, submenus are your friends. Most programs have submenus. These tools can come in handy, you know. Who knows what you might find? These puzzles will test your ability to think outside the box. The world's your oyster. Whoa. Heyo. Be creative and have fun. Try to keep up and remember all the details. Oh. Take your time, my friend. Good luck. Okay. Pizarro, why is that noise still playing? What have you done to me? Oh, of course I break the fucking stupid ass puzzle game already here. Oh no! Pizarro, this is your fucking fault! Did you know Pizarro is the name of a famous explorer? It's Pizarro's fault! I was drawing and he interrupted me. Now it's just playing a drawing noise infinitely. Well, it looks like I've run out of system tips for now. You guys get another one, I'll just repeat myself, okay? Okay. Downloads. Nothing. Wait. Hidden files. Oh, okay. I'm gonna lose my mind. Maybe this will fix it. Yo, let me not move my thing. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Here we go. Dude, you're going in the same direction. Take a right. You sure this isn't a porn game? I'm relatively sure. Could be, though. Maybe Pizarro bounces on it at some point. Can I save? Can I save? I don't know if I don't want to restart over. Whatever. Dig into the system folder, get in there, start pulling out the wires. Oh, it's happening even if I fucking log in. Oh, it's still happening in the main fucking screen. Okay, let's restart. Hopefully this won't make me restart the whole game. Good start. Good start to the stream. Wonderful start to the stream. I'm gonna eat this strawberry that's in the drink that I was drinking earlier. Also a soaked piece of basil in here. The strawberry will make me feel better. Oh, thank God. Okay. Remember, if you ever need assistant to it, just click on the light bulb. Okay. If we're sitting without a readme, desktop encourages you to read it first. Okay. If the password is given to you through text, it'll be presented in the following format. Password. However, passwords won't always be hidden within text. You have to do some of them on your own. Will you discover the mysteries of the cave? Will you answer all of its riddles? Will you discover some of the secrets within you? Will you become a desktop explorer? Maybe. Not really good at puzzles game, so we shall see. Oh. Yeah, they do have a hidden puzzle here. There is no story to tell here. Go solve some puzzles. Let's go. You found the password. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Nothing to see here. I was not kidding. It's an example. You sneaky sneaker, you. I told you there's nothing in here. I don't believe you! I'm gonna find out all your secrets. Okay. Whoa. Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we'll come back to that. I'd like drag this out, maybe? Okay. Oh, I made a copy. Need that copy. You don't need that. I'd copy this. Rename. Impress. Okay. There's not a lot I could do there, I don't think. Someone is thorough in their exploration. I congratulate you. Oh, haha, you know. I could... Waste. Oh, I can make like a... Can I make just notepads then? Okay, I don't think so. That could be useful. Okay. Well, we did the example puzzle. There's no hidden files in here. Your hand. It's my hand. There's a compass. There's a mouth of a cave. You are lost. You find yourself between the sea and a lush forest, dragging your feet in the sand of a beach that you've never seen before. Aside from your wits and senses, you bear only a small compass that has been damaged in a fall. Among the shore's dark rocks, you spot what looks like to be the entrance of a cave. Approaching it reveals that its entrance is narrower than you anticipated. Letters written in the sand start fading away as it starts to rain heavily. Before taking shelter, you manage to read some of it. You assume It's the cave's name. Fortuna. I see. Fortuna. Wow. So fucking smart. What can I do for you? Window's too small, you can always use the scroll bar to see all of its contents. When surfing around the web, your personal history will help you track sites you visited before. Your next OS system looks best when it matches your style. You can always change your wallpaper in the start settings. Oh! Oh, let's do that. Oh, yo! We could do fishies? What's fishies? Fishies! Fisherman desk. I like fishies. Let's do fishies. Yeah, let's do this. Whoa! Okay. Alright, as you glance inside your new shelter, you notice cracks between the boulders up top. You quickly realize the lack of natural light here. By not being able to see much of the cave's darkness, you stumble upon a stick next to a rolled-up scroll. As you open it, you discover it's comically long. Wait. Okay. Interesting there. Wow, it's the inside of the cave. Torch. That's a torch. What's the scroll say? Chant my name, O child, and your voice will bear my fire. When dusk surrounds me, Iana lights my path. Okay. Hold up before we do this. There's nothing here. Files. Oh! Found a alternative. Wait, puzzle 9, so maybe we come back to this? I assume we come back to that because that's puzzle 9. Sure, let's just come back to that. Okay, yeah, I can. Okay. Yo, what's up with the love hearts? Oh, I just realized I'm blocking Pizarro here. There you go. Pizarro is fucking... Pizarro's down to fuck right now. Hello. Window has the resize symbol at the bottom. It means you can click and drag your resize. Ow. After barely pronouncing the name, you read the tip of the stick you were holding kindled into a soft flame. You now hold the torch of suspicious origins. With a newly lit path, you press onto a room with a wide strip of papyrus on the floor. You notice strokes and writing scattered across it. Along with some suspicious-looking creases, you read, "Answer quickly and answer proud. Oh, solve my riddle and say it out loud. I garden the flowers with my hose. Wouldn't you know it? I use my nose." Is that an elephant? Elephant. It's an elephant. I was right. It's right. It was an elephant. Wow, look at the elephant. Look at him. Oh, more lore. I've noticed that I keep writing... I've noticed that I keep writing depressive thoughts. So today I will write about one of my favorite memories. I don't remember the exact date, but this was the birth of the short-lived angler trio. Little Guppy's first fishing trip, and she blessed us with a honey hole. We filled the boat so fast that old Walleye started singing again. And when we got home, we toasted with pap and baby formula. What? Oh, how I miss you, big bro. My memory might falter sometimes, but I won't forgive you or forget you anytime soon since Guppy has your melancholic eyes. It's funny how I can't think of the three of us without our code names, but I wouldn't have it any other way. As long as our young lass breathes, the Angler trio lives on. Aww. Left one. Okay, what is it? Not elephant. You wouldn't call it a... Oh, trunk. Trunk. Wouldn't call it a nose. You call it nobody knows. But there lies the answer. That's kind of fucked up, I'm gonna be honest with you. Oh, it's not elephant. Not, trunk. Like a proboscis? That one old YouTuber? No. Within the... What format is it? Okay. Wouldn't call it a nose. What would you call it? What else would you call a fucking elephant's trunk? Snout? Yeah, it's a honker. Let me reopen this so I can... okay, so it's just gonna look like that anyway. Tutor. Okay, well there's the elephant properly. There he is. Let me try elephant. Wait. Us? Oh. Okay, yeah, I see it's right there. Elephas. Elephas. Is that what you call that? Or is that that additional elephant's nose? Or the name? Whatever. That's fine. Hidden files. As you solve the riddle after folding the papyrus, the elephant's trunk points to a path in the distance. Was it always there? You make your way through the passageway, which leads to an empty enclosed space within the cavern. It seems to be a dead end. Just as you start to lose hope and begin to head back, you recall the words of advice from a detective show you watched as a kid. Read between the lines. Find the source of truth, and only then will you crack the code. You think, there are no lines in these cave walls. Detective or not, what am I supposed to do? Well, you know, I don't know about that. On your left, you notice that the wall is thinner than others. The word salve is inscribed upon it. Salve. Oh wow, look at Mr. Hacker over here. You're thorough. Fuck you. Don't patronize me. Bizarro. Oh wait, I should probably go down one of these paths. Also, I just lost a sharp object in my room that I was stimming with. and I hope I find it in a manner that isn't poking myself with it. Apologies. Not again. Listen. I like stimming with sharp objects. Watching all those detective shows has definitely paid off. Passing both of your hands over this cave's walls revealed it to be different from all the others. Light pushes all that is needed for it to crumble. And beneath the neat ruse, you encounter 3 doors. 2 of them lie behind you, and the largest one in front of you. Below the central door, there's a yellow key. You try your luck using it, but the door won't budge. There's an engraving on the key, but it's very hard to read. I lost my samurai blade. I did. I'm a sad Ronin now. Okay, so that's I can go into some doors. There's no hidden. Me it. As you open it, you see a wall with a rune inscription painted on it. Below the rune, you see the word in an alphabet you can read. Is this the name of the rune? Oh. I don't know. Oh, I can. Okay. Left door rune me. Right door rune Rena. I recognize those runes from the Biotique of Isaac. As you open it, you see a wall with a rune inscription painted on it. Below the rune, you see the word in an alphabet you can read. Is this related to the other door? I don't know. Is there a hidden thing here? Nope. Might have to look into some source. -1 bit. Interesting. Okay, so that one I can't do anything. There's no source here. Source here. I like this game so far. This is really cool. This is a really neat concept. Reminds me a bit of Hypno Space Outlaw, just with less it's less goofy in tone. Store file the original state. Huh. If I rename this? However, you barely make out the words. An image is worth 1,000 words. Oh, the file. 1,000 words. Okay. It's like the runes combined, maybe? Immediate. Okay. Which is worth. Maybe just one of these. So I can't delete that key. Can I delete any of these? Okay. Giving him files in here. Right door rune. Maybe they have to combine? Oh, rename it. That makes sense. What the fuck do I rename this to? I did rename it before, but it didn't work. Rename you two though. Yeah. Okay, let me reread this then. Says yellow key, try your luck with. There's an engraving on the key, it's very hard to read. However big going on, just. Oh, I think I understand now. Yeah! Okay, okay. That's cute. I like that. Lock obeys. Bonus. Thanks, Bizarro. You reshape the key to reveal its message. You turn the lock with it, a small chamber like a closet. It's behind the big central door. The rock walls of this compartment are completely covered with the same etched phrase, "Dare to say my name." You know from experience that speaking aloud holds some type of power. Examining the room, you are sure that the only way forward is to call their name, whatever it may be. Who wrote these words anyway? They didn't write their name on the wall, but still, you feel as if you can figure out who the author is behind these etchings. It's completely covered in... Okay. Yay, more sad stuff. Let's go. My doctor suggested that I write... I'm so sorry, Jack. My doctor suggested that I write about this line by line. I'll give it a go. My big brother died on a rainy day. The rain wasn't enough to smother the flames. Couldn't help it all. I trembled for hours during that day. My big brother couldn't escape in time. I saw his face and body engulfed in fire. That thing did not look like my big brother. This is stupid. I don't need to recount step by step how my brother looked like a ghoul in his last moments. How's that supposed to help me? How's that supposed to end my headaches? I just ruined my morning writing this. And if I forget everything like everybody says, how is it that I can't forget my brother's withered face? How's that for amnesia? Oh. Author MMT. Thanks, dude. Okay. Sick. As you pass your hand through the wall, the thought of a name you can't pronounce zooms through your mind. Close your eyes and shake your head briefly. As you open them again in front of you, the dark passage so far is revealed to you. You delve inside. The torch you carry barely lights your arm while everything else is completely lost in blackness. Shortly after, you start to doubt yourself and think of heading back. Your vision becomes completely devoid of light as the last spark from the stick expires. Rather than panicking, calm surrounds you. Somehow you even feel more capable of revealing what's hidden in the dark. I'm one step ahead of you. Concentrate on your field of view. Way to reveal what is not meant to be seen. I already revealed what was not meant to be seen. Ah! Spooky. Ah! Stop that. I know you saw me. I did see you. I looked right at you. I'm not gonna hide it. Come back. Come back, you little bitch. Okay. Stones. I got system gremlins. For a brief moment, you sense something behind you. Between the crevices of the wall, you are barely able to see what appears to be a human figure. After focusing for a bit, you make out a withered face and a set of melancholic eyes. As you take your first step towards it, the stranger runs off, leaving the sound of pebbles trembling on the ground. I love the dab in the wallpaper. Yeah, the fucking... You get to choose between like a few different fishy ones. You get fishies, you get shells. Fisherman desk is good. No, baby. Heightened senses. The improvement of your vision has reached its peak. The dark still hinders your sight, but you feel comfortable moving within it. You can even start noticing details on the walls beyond your arm's reach. Find a boulder next to you with an engraved warning. What does it say? Oh, engraved warnings. Keep out. Reaching this point must require courage, but going past it is utter foolishness. Heed my words and turn back now before it's too late. Cassandra. Well, Cassandra, I'm not afraid. No, I saw a spooky man, but now I'm not afraid. Wow, nothing gets past you. Fishermen have great eyesight, I guess. Don't fucking patronize me. All right. Any hidden files? Well, this one's just open. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Rubicon? Let's say Rubicon? Let's say Rubicon. You ignore Cassandra's warnings and press on, only to find a contrasting scene. A calm and lightened room surrounded by stalagmites. You can clearly see the way forward, but your intuition tells you that these stalagmites are worthy of attention. A short break soothes your anxiety. You move on. What else you got? Okay. So let's actually go back to, I think it was 2? It was 1. Move it on. Yo, yeah, okay. We found ourselves a little secret, chat. We found ourselves a little secret. This game's sick so far. I like this. Okay, a tree. Oh. Wait, how did you know? Oh, you love computers? Beep boop. We love you too. Have you drank any water lately? I don't need to because I'm a notepad. Wow. Writing torches with your words might be a good idea to remember that. Okay. Okay, so we have some ancient Egyptian fishermen going on here. I'm not really well versed with Egyptian mythology, so I don't really know what I'm looking at, to be honest. That's cool. Sure. The moment you stop carving, the wall before you starts to move. As if a small earthquake takes over the cave, the landscape revealed in front of you is now a long hall-like chamber. It resembles an auditorium or an altar. You're something designed by humans, yet shaped by regular erosion. At the center, you find an empty stretch of space surrounded by unordered piles of stones engraved on the ground. You read the following message. When the path toward truth is unknown, nature will lead me through stacking stones. You wonder if something's missing here. There's also a detailed mural in the back of the room, and you can't shake the feeling that it's hiding a different story. Should you have taken this advice literally, you've been finding strange flat stones all around the cave. Stones. Interesting. I gotta go back and grab all the stones? Anything in it? Today I remembered something delightful. I'll write about it and make it harder to forget. With the smell of cake in the oven, my nostrils tickled. I couldn't shake the image of her smiling at me. I think of her not only as a model of the perfect mother, but also as the ideal wife. I know I've dreamed of having a family for as long as I can remember, but I can't help but feeling nauseous knowing I basically took over another man's household. It's not my fault that a woman and a child need a presence of a father. I only wish to help. Alright, Halibut. Why do I feel guilty when the only one at fault is their absent old man? I'm rambling again. My sweet memories tarnished by sour shame. What would my brother think of me? Oh, okay. Huh. Alba, what did you do? There's a tree. Is there any text here? And there's... Because I haven't really found anything that could be a password here. Aside from the stones, which... It didn't seem to do anything. I was just curious because it said stacking stones. And I haven't had to duplicate anything yet, so... Press. When the path towards truth is unknown, nature will lead me through stacking stones. Oh. We're stacking stones. Are there any more stones? Leaf. Can I copy this? Doesn't really seem to do any. Oh yeah, that just types. I'm afraid to go in here. Yes, I will. Okay, I was supposed to go in here. Stone. Dead end. Continuing the trail past the stalagmite scene, you reach an uneventful dead end. Based on your experience during this exploration, you are convinced that there's something more than meets the eye. Spend the following hour inspecting every crevice of the walls that surround you. You can be absolutely certain there's no path forward. While scratching your head, pondering what to do, you hear a loud thunk far off behind in the cave. Okay, so it seems like finding that area was, you know, probably a part of the actual progression. I was curious if it was like a little alternative ending or something. But it doesn't seem like it. More stones though. What? Wait, what happened to the puzzle? I don't remember these files being here earlier. What's going on? Even after retracing your steps perfectly, you doubt your sense of direction. The cave's mouth is nowhere to be seen. It is only when you find the scroll from the beginning of your adventure on the ground you hear the storm outside. You haven't successfully backtracked to the entrance, but the landscape has changed. The only exit from this cavern to the shore has now been replaced by walls and stalagmites. On the ground lies a chisel of some kind. It carves some new symbols into the landscape. Interesting. Chat, I crossed the Rubicon, chat. Chat, I think I crossed it. I think I crossed that Rubicon. Oh. There's another rune there. Something going on here. God, it's Rubicon again. A Rubicon moment, yeah. do I do with these stones? Use it to carve some symbols into this new landscape. Keep finding these little symbols everywhere. This is a leaf. Rubicon again. And there's a stone here. Wait a minute, maybe the file names spell something out? So it's L. S. ML. SML? I don't think that spells anything out. Shaking my leg. Shaking my leg. Maybe I have to like combine these somehow? Yeah, maybe that's what I need to do. Checking if there's none in there. I'm gonna save my name. I don't think so. They don't really have much in common with each other. Oh, they're small, large, and medium. Yeah, okay, yeah. I was onto something. Alright, now we got some new stuff. New file added, colorlens.exe. Ooh, new music. Balancing the stones and the stone cracks something. Bouncing the stone cracks something inside of them. They crumble instantly and reveal some sort of quartz shards inside. You hold a piece next to your eyes and notice the most interesting qualities. Depending on the angle, it changes color like a prism in the light. Is what the inscription meant by truth? Even the mural on the back of the room looks clear behind the quartz. Its sigils shine in different colors. Seems like I'll have to do something slightly different to exit this place. Okay. I think now. Mural again. Okay, we're back here. Now we have the stacked stones. Ooh, new program. What do you have to say about this, Bizarro? Color me impressed. Color lens have been added to your installed programs. You can access it through the start menu and programs. Wow. Oh. That's fascinating. Okay. So different. Okay, so those are just the colors. I see. All right. So. You have nothing to hide. Maybe the mural? Yes. Yes. It's an angel. Wow. Biblically accurate angel. The Seraphirim. Scribble out. Crying. Alligator. Crying. And red. Angry. On fire. Burning. Die. Unhappy. Oh, so we need one for each one. Okay, so this one's fire. Would be fire. Can I open multiple of these then? And this one would be yellow. I only have the one open. Let me open multiple ones. Coward. This is next one. Oh, calculator. Math. Okay. Line up the logos. Animals bathing in the tears of grief. Oh, alligator. Also, how many eyes are witnessing the bliss of acceptance? So you are not accepting. You are definitely not accepting. So is it you? Are you the accepting one? You? Something on my screen. Three? Do you have to count all of these ones? Three, 2, 4, 2, 3. Okay, sorry. This full eye of acceptance. That looks like acceptance to me. That looks blissful. Maybe if I... Well, now you're crying. Now you're all crying. Now you're dead. You'd probably be dead. It's not too. There's one right here. That one goes away when you get rid of yellow. You have 3, 4? I hate you. 6. one that I'm missing. I have to count every single one of these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 in total. Okay, so I just count all of them. How did Wrath manifest? Lames. Who is the dead man on the boat? This question definitely feels out of place. It isn't part of the puzzle. Do you know who they're talking about? Yeah, it's the fucking brother, right? No, I don't. Okay, family photo. I want to look at the family photos first. Wow. He got a full-on honker. Right, it's color lenses at all. I actually don't know if the older brother was ever named. Oh, there's the interesting. Wait, can I use the color on that? No. Don't forget. Keep putting this away, but I'm curious. Probably thinking too much into some of this. What is dissociative amnesia? I don't know. Never heard of it. Okay, diploma. I can't read that. Notes, groceries. Ah. Yeah, I caught some big fish. Made my breakfast. I made my bed. I ate my breakfast. I brushed my teeth. I brushed my teeth. Okay. Whoa. More. No. It's so sad. Made bits ebbed. Ate breakfast. Oh. I bought notebook, used notebook. Made my bed. I made my bed. Okay. Who is the dead man in the boat? Brother. Oh. They didn't name him, it was just a brother. Oh. Hey. You sure you should even be here? You shouldn't be here. Wait, I'm not done on the computer yet. I'm not done on the computer yet. Hey! Hey, get out of here! I'm not done on the computer! Whoa, what the fuck? Oh, this is the trailer. Okay, I understand. Whoa, what the hell? That was neat. I like that. That was really neat. Before I drop this one, I do want to see what the in-game internet's about, if it'll let me. But yeah, that was really fun. All right, I want to see what kind of websites our dear uncle was looking at. Okay, it's just, you know, homepage. But it did say check out the history. The Fiddler. Recent searches. How to uninstall. What is a desktop explorer in my computer? How to stop nightmares quick. Home improvement tips. How many months baby can eat solid food. Losing loved one help groups. Oh. Projects to keep busy. Artist communities near me. Painting contests near me. CMAA clubs drawing. Okay. This is like his maps. Sorry. So am I going south on Hook Street towards Coral Avenue? All these... I don't know if this probably means something at some point. Like compound house. CMA. Right, that was mentioned in the previous. Guessing that's like a local organization of some kind. Leah's house. Leah's house. Man found hanging in his own domicile. Suicide figures rise on rise statewide. Sorry about that. I had to blow my nose. Residents of the city of Gold Peak demand that the state's governor take actions after an instance of suicide has taken place this year. Emmett Sounder was found hanged in his bedroom after a wellness check. Was requested by his neighbors that same night. No other family members were harmed. This constitutes the 47th count of self-harm death in Gold Peak City this year. Holy fuck. 624th statewide. Leading experts predict an unprecedented 3% increase compared to last year. I don't know if it's a public health issue or an economic issue or whatever. Something needs to be done as soon as possible. People are desperate, said Gold Peak citizen Manuel V. Faust. Sounder's family did not comment on the matter. Baby rescued in fire. 1 dead, 3 injured. Arson charges dropped. Oh. Okay, so that's the brother. So wait, who's the last guy then? Emmett Sounder. Okay. I don't think I've seen an Emmett Sounder. This past Thursday, residents of a small town in Silver Valley in Pierce County were shocked to find a house fire in the middle of the night. Middle-aged man Hull Waters was arrested by a local sheriff's department and was taken into custody as part of a misunderstanding and conflicting information between neighbors. Amidst the commotion, the soon-to-be recognized as a local hero managed to save his 2-year-old niece, Gwen Waters, from the flames. Walter Waters, the baby's father, tragically died before rescue could arrive. 3 young men were injured trying to contain the fire. According to authorities, interference from pedestrians made the rescue team's efforts to salvage the home practically impossible. You need to remember to stay calm and always leave the heroic acts of professionals, stated local firefighter George Q. Flowers. Okay. Interesting. Maybe he killed his brother. Maybe he wanted his brother's family. Maybe that's why his brother's haunting the computer. Maybe that's why his brother's a computer, is because he died and yada yada. Alright. That was cool. I enjoyed that. Stop all the downloading. Hey kid, I'm a computer. My brother's a computer. Stop all the downloading. Alright. I have another game in our lineup. Here, I'm not even gonna say the game's name. I'm sure the title will. Oh, that is so loud. Oh. There we go. I need to turn this way the fuck down. Jesus Christ. Alright. Cool. gonna play Truck-kun is supporting me from another world. I'm sorry, Chad. I didn't mean to blow out your eardrum. Alright, I think that should be good. This is what you're playing? Listen, we played something that was, you know, very high quality before. Do we know if this is a porn game? I'm pretty sure this is not a porn. Wait, let me go and double check. Make sure. No, it's not a porn game. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna be playing Truck-kun is supporting me from another world. All right.
My name is Carissa Ward, and today is the day that it all pays off.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, let me slash marker this. Truck.
The sleepless nights, the mild extortion, selling off my precious anime collection.
Yeah.
The company just released its new org chart, and starting Monday, I'm the vice president of marketing. I'm gonna get my driver's license. I'm gonna get back my anime collection.
Wow.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Wow, yay, everything's gonna be fine, chat. Nothing's gonna happen. No, how could this have happened? What? No, I wasn't. No. No way. Oh no. God. Her head just being splattered across the fucking concrete.
Is she dead?
Hey, it was your fault. Hey, you can't just
I think she's dead.
get out of the truck, man. Own up to you manslaughter.
No! She was so young and smart and conventionally attractive.
Yeah, man.
No!
Hey, dork, your magic.
Oh
person
my
is isekai.
God.
We can talk about what you did later.
Is everything
but
okay?
I need
You know.
drive.
Oh, we're driving now because we just committed vehicular manslaughter. Oh God. Okay, we have to do voices. You do remember how to drive, don't you? Put your pedal to the metal. Okay, I'm driving. Ah. Oh my God. Made this mess now. You and Carissa need to start digging your way out of it. Let's get you back on the road, driver. All right. What is this? All right. Hitting L push increases your day timer by 10 seconds. Okay. So am I just going on a rampage? I'm a criminal. My life is over. Drama queen. The cops in this city. You've got an easy 10 minutes before they deploy murder drones, especially if you're in a low-income area. Cops have murder drones? Oh yeah, for the last few years now. Anyway, it doesn't matter if the cops stuck machine guns to a birthday toy. What matters is you bringing me back to life in time for work on Monday. First thing I'm gonna need is start shaking things up over here is a bunch of XP. How do we get you that? By sending me more people. Oh, so we're killing people. Sending me more people. Hit them with your truck. Turn them into mobs that I could crush. Isn't that murder? As I said, you've got 10 minutes, buddy. Yeah, I'm the fucking isekai machine. Oh God, now I've hit someone on purpose. It'll be fine. Now hit some more. Give me a whole stack of enemies to bop. Ugh. Her name is Carissa. You're right. Holy fuck. It's a waste of Carissa's time to fight just one enemy. Send a whole mess to her. All right. We're killing. Okay, we gotta avoid the water. Well done. Carissa now has a full stack of enemies to fight now. As we can fight Carissa, she fights through Talonfold. Smashing objects in Wind Veil powers up Carissa's ultimate attack. You generate star shards by defeating enemies. 5 shards grants you an additional star. Sure, man. Wait, oh, and then I have to also do deliveries too. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still have to do my fucking day job. When Carissa's powered up, you can use Truckoon's Corn to unleash her ultimate attack, the Super Burst. Give it a go. Okay. Don't know what that did. Stuck, you can only move somewhere else. Okay. Okay. Oh my god, the camera in this is fucked. Why is the camera like this? Okay, we're fine. We'll just go around. Here, we'll go up. Yeah! We don't have the horsepower for that. I like how I could send anything there. I can send like a fucking like lamppost. One second. Fucking let me mess with this real quick. That's why. There we go. My fucking mouse was like leaving the screen. Serba, is this what it's like in hell? Yeah, this is pretty accurate.
Hurt people, kill people, 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 hurt people, kill people.
Oh, I have to actually deliver it. Nope, get in the thing. Defeat 4 enemies. Okay. I don't know if that means her or not. Oh! Okay, so her special abilities for that? Really charge up Carissa's ultimate. Eat. Well, let's go collect a bunch of enemies before we kill them. I don't know if those are the limit or not, but... Raccoon has unlocked some secrets under the hood. You can drift. Okay. Okay, so space like does a little boost. Oh, the frame rate. Oh no. I'm sure the choppiness adds to this a little bit. Hold up. Let me quickly see. Can I? Yeah, none of that. Okay. See, this time I have the specs for this game, so this is honestly the game here. My peanuts. Alright, is there anything I have to do? Oh, I have to drift. Okay, I understand. How do I drift? Not drifting? Did you just hit Ralsei? Was there a Ralsei? Did I just hit a fucking Ralsei? I hope I hit a Ralsei. Yeah, that just kind of like dodges though. That's not really a drift, is it? I don't know why I can do that. Let me see. Is there quick controls ability? No. Button remapping seems to be gonna be in the main game. That was how I drifted. Maybe get some Sonic the Hedgehog rings up there.
Whoa!
So that just does that. This is what I get for not reading chat. Alright, let's get these Sonic the Hedgehog rings. Yeah! The music stop? Is the music done? Is there no more music? I don't know how long we'll be playing this for, I'll be real with you. But we'll see. Would like to see more of our Carissa. Oh, fucking controls. Okay, okay. My DMs, my DMs. Oh. Oh my god. I don't know if that's a Rousey or not, or if that's just like a woman in a green dress. Getting fucking bodied by this game. I'm gonna mash buttons until something happens. Okay, maybe we do another delivery. Another... What time, though? I don't have, like, a time limit. What does it mean, time limit? I think my game is broken, maybe. This is losing my mind. I gotta crush Rousey in his Mercedes-Benz. That's what I gotta do. This is fucking stupid! What time? There's no time limit! Okay, I'm restarting. Let me restart real quick. Yeah, let's restart the current level. Okay, yeah. Okay. Camera angle? Okay. Yeah, murder drones. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. Generate star shards. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude.
Bonk. Wahoo! Yeah, it's definitely just some random lady in a dress. I saw what you're talking about this time. Okay. Hit car, hit car. Oh, it's B to drift. I understand. I was in the wrong button. That's such a bad fucking button for that. Okay, I can just drift in a straight line, whatever. Turn around. Okay, that's side swiping. I understand. Okay. My truck couldn't do any of the stuff before today. You're welcome. Why is that thing glowing purple? Why can't I see that? Oh, we're in it now. You've got magic sight, baby. If something is a purple force field, you can smash through it with enough oomph. Okay. We have to do our job. Come on. It's a tutorial, but now you remembered how you got 20. Okay, now I can just explore the city for a bit. I understand. Time's up, Truckoon. Okay, that wasn't... Oh, I don't know. Okay, that wasn't too bad, right? Ugh. Ha! My name's Carissa. What happened to me? That's called... Shut the fuck up! Sorry. Shut up! Your magic sent my... Your magic truck sent me to Talonfold, a world that runs on anime logic, where I became a hot elf babe with giant muscles. With giant muscles. With big, strong muscles. How? Why? We've got a Truck-kun situation on our hands. Those are just the rules. Now, even though what's happening is pretty cool, I'm still very mad at you. Oh god. You could help me fix this. Time moves faster in here. When we aren't talking, I've been chatting with some NPCs. Apparently, this guy called Skeleton King has a scroll of resurrection. You drive fast and do what I say in that magic car of yours, and I'm coming home. Are you in? I guess I could try. Hell yeah! Cool. Awesome. Is this just gonna bring me back to the tutorial? Oh, there's more. There's more. There's more in the demo. Okay. Okay, to defeat the Skeleton King and bring me home, we have to get through a galactic gate. In a normal isekai, I do that by accomplishing heroic acts to clear star milestones. Classic video game stuff. You gather a party of delightful misfits and become a better person and save the day through the power of friendship. We don't got time for all that. So, we're gonna cheat. By clearing the star milestones another way, by ourselves. Yep. Me and you, working together, makes almost anything a heroic act if you're technical about it. We're gonna generate some stars across two worlds and crack open that galactic gate by force. Oh boy. Okay. So do I have more? Is there more demo to play? That's my question right now. Is there more demo to play? There is. Okay. Well, we're playing more Truck-kun, chat. We're playing more Truck-kun. I have a small delivery business. We're doing... I need to make sure I'm still taking care of my customers, you know? Just make sure it looks heroic enough to fool the universe. As long as it generates stars, I don't care what you do. Jump off a building, swipe a cop off the road, shake your ass for 12 hours straight. We've got a job to do. Okay. A few more things you learn before you can reach the Galactic Gate. They're out there. Anytime you can leave deliveries. Drive to a pickup zone and... Okay. I can't believe drift is on B. That is such a bad fucking thing for that to be on. Guessing this game is made for a controller. People, get him. Oh, wait, I have to go on a bridge. Ah! Oh. Okay. I fucked that up. I did it. Oh, I have to fight cops now too. Oh my god! You know, in a way, this is kind of a GTA Chaos mod. Ah. Oh, my frame rate. My frame rate. Oh, okay. Let's get out of there. Okay, I gotta... Oh, I have a time limit. I have a time limit. I have a time limit. I have to deliver packages. Let me deliver my packages. And I can't use my boost yet. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to commit a horrible crime. Please. Please, I beg you. See, we keep plugging away at these star milestones and I'll get the Skeleton King in no time. Skeleton Kings, XP, star milestones. How'd you learn about all this stuff? I've made it my life's purpose to consume an unhealthy amount of anime. Once you know the patterns, it's pretty easy to figure out what comes next. Maybe I should start watching anime. Well, you don't quite have the time right now because you killed me. But later, yeah, watch some anime. Try the weird stuff. What kind of weird stuff we're talking about? Talking about like I don't know, some artsy weird stuff or like weird stuff. I really don't feel comfortable doing more of these milestones before we know what's going to happen to the people we're hitting. I could have blood on my hands. But you probably don't. Why worry about it? Because I could be killing people. These things are a big circle. You isekai me with a truck, I isekai them again with a sword. Everyone's probably going to end up okay. What's important is that you keep your eyes on the job. All right, I'm the manager, you're the intern. Get it done. How long is this demo? Whatever, I don't need that. I have to drive, hit parked cars. And I need to find some deliveries. Oh my god, she's fighting dragons and shit now. Need to get her more plastic objects. Hopefully she can't die. That'd be unfortunate. I'm trying! You did it. Okay, let me find a delivery, please. Is there a map? There is a map. Okay. Alright, if the demo doesn't end after this mission, I may stop to move on to another demo, just so we're not doing truck poon all night. We did spend a good while on desktop Explorer, which was worth it. Yay, time extended. Oh, hit parked cars. Parked cars, hit them. The cars, hit the cars. Hit the cars. Them. Did it. It's kind of fun though, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually kind of fun. The premise, I feel like, is for a different type of like weeb than I am, but you know, still fun so far. It's got a very like arcadey, like a Crazy Taxi type vibe to it. Some bullshit you'd play on like a fucking GameCube or whatever, that you like rented for the weekend. Like Simpsons Hit and Run adjacent. Oh, wait, let me turn in. No! No! Hey, what happens to everyone else when you defeat the Skeleton King? Everyone else? The other people? The ones I've been hitting with my truck? When you use the Scroll of Resurrection, they come back too, right? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Skull probably brings everyone back. Maybe. I focus on bringing back the first person you hit with a car. Ugh. So you've got news? I do. You can set your pre-working class head at ease. The Scroll of Resurrection is like a big ejector seat. When it's used, it'll send everyone in Talonville back to their universe of origin. That is wonderful to hear. Thank you. You just believe me? Like that? I could be lying. I trusted you enough to start driving into pedestrians at high speed. This would be a hell of a time to stop. Glad to hear it. Wait, what happened? Carissa, can you hear me? Where are you? Okay. Hit 8 beach chairs. Okay. He's just imagining her to justify his horrible actions. Yeah, that's the twist. The game's gonna have like a, you know, like those like 2010s like fan theory twists about like fucking whoa. about like Foster's Home for Imaginary Kids or whatever. For imaginary kids, for imaginary friends, where it's like, oh yeah, it was all in his head or whatever. Wow. One slime. Well, that would have been a lot of good people to hit there, but you know. Hit the car! Hit the fucking car! Actually, hitting these cars is doing nothing. It just gives XP. Alright, we gotta hit the beach chairs. We gotta hit the beach chairs. That's the important one. Hit it. Okay.
Dude.
Ops. Oh, I see. So at the bottom, I have to like. I get. Oh, okay. So anytime she kills like a group of enemies, she gets like a fragment, and that built up into one stock. All right, I understand. I'm learning the mechanics. You see, I'm gonna become like a pro Truck-kun player. It just exploded. That's gonna be my like niche on Twitch.tv. Is I'm gonna like just gonna play Truck-kun all the time and know all the strats. Got a star! Wahoo! Wow! Oh my god, please stop giving me time. Please, I just want to move on to something else. Let's see these other parked cars. The drive left. I'm playing this shit too good now. Okay, free me. That'll save up time. Arms up, Truck-kun. Oh, okay. Oh, it's still going. Okay, let me check some. Okay. I assume the demo ends when we go up to 100 stars. I could be wrong, but if that's the case, I think we'll probably go ahead and stop it here. All right. Well, that was Truck-kun. Truck-kun is supporting me from another world. Seems surprisingly fun, actually, gameplay-wise. Sense of humor-wise, I mean, it's you know, it's funny if you like your isekai slop, I suppose. Your you know, your absurdly long anime titles, if you're that kind of person, which, you know what? Good for you if you're that kind of person. Good for you. But yeah, I actually had a fun time with that. All right. We're going to move on to another game. We got a few good ones. This might be a multi-day endeavor potentially. Move on to Is this a game with like a similar vibe? All right. This is a anime racing RPG. Oh, I have to actually put it up on yes. It's also really loud. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Options.
I don't know why these demos are so loud. All right. Slash marker. This one. What is this one? Kaido and Kaido.
Adventure.
Let's do it.
Choose your location. That'll do. Choose your car.
Yeah, this is the same game. You know, both cars. Okay, no customization, I assume.
Let's have some fun.
I don't know how much of a mouse and keyboard this game is going to be, so let me grab my control.
Good to see you.
Been so down since the accident happened to your mentor. Look, I know you blame yourself for it, but accidents happen, right? That's why they're called accidents. Yeah, I don't know if my controller's being red. Forget about it and have a quick race. Race to the end of the waterfall. No. Please? I think it'll help. It'll definitely help. Exposure therapy. Stop. You need this. I need you to need this. Stop. Please? I think it'll help. It'll definitely help. Exposure therapy. Okay, it's just looping now. Good answer. And you remember how to drive, right? No. I'll explain the basic controls for you. Okay, steer, accelerate, brake. Okay, so it's pretty... Oh no, there's like shifting. There's like gears in this. Well, forget you can always look in the options menu. There are more controls in there and a handy diagram. Alright, let's go. Music bops so far.
3, 2, 1, go!
This segment of the stream might get muted. I did see that it said, Ooh. Neat. Little setting.
Options. Graphics.
Turn some settings down. But yeah, this part of the stream might get muted. But so it goes, if so. Does that look... I'm curious, how did that look before? Okay, it looked about the same. So yeah, I can go and turn all that down then. See, that's the unfortunate part of modern gaming, is that they'll make a game that claims to have PS2. I'm in a race. What am I doing? I forgot I was racing. I thought I was just driving.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh my god, I'm fucking stupid. I just like pulled off in a completely different direction. Okay, so... Oh, I did not make that turn well at all. But yeah, the modern gaming game tried to look like a PS2 game, but still runs on hardware better than my machine. There we go. That's what I was just trying to say. I'm fucking with the soundtrack hard so far, though. That alone has me, like, interested.
Cool!
Dang, great job. Now that you've got your blood pumping again, go take a drive and enjoy the fresh air. Maybe talking to people will make you feel better. Not everyone blames you, right? Pretty sure. Might want to go see Himiko at Mekodongo down the road behind me. She's always so cheerful. Just follow the road west past the gas station and keep following it along the river for a while. Mekodongo is on the outskirts of town. You don't have to go there. There are plenty of other people around. Oh, come see me at the gas station for another race later. My brother Kenzo's working there today, too. Talk to him if you need to change cars. Okay, I understand. There's a lot of people in town to talk to. And don't forget, you can check your phone to see what objectives you encounter, your items, and you can even take pictures. It'll help you keep organized. Okay, yeah. All right. The soundtrack so far. Let's fucking go. Huh. That's cute. Items in the photo mode. Not in there. Nobody in there. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely getting muted, by the way. Wait, I can talk to those guys. Ever feel like you're wandering aimlessly? Check your phone. It's useful to guide you. Thanks, man. Okay, is there a map I can look at? A map. Is there a map? No. Please. 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 Okay, the UI controls are rough so far, I'm gonna be real. Okay, I guess I just kind of explore then. That's fine. I don't think I can go over here. Yeah, I don't think I can go there. I just realized something. I was hearing some like punk music in the background, and I was like, that's weird. Why is there just like a constant layer of punk music playing? And somehow I turned on my fucking Kobas, and I've just been playing fucking leftover crack over this game. I was like, why is there two different songs like layered over each other? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's the thing I can...
Oh, hi.
Oh. I love racing out here. There's no fireworks, no crowds, and you're not some star of some big event. No one's lining up to celebrate you. You either make it or you don't. It's up to you to earn every bit of your reputation. Speaking of that, we're just about to start a circuit race. Maybe you can make something of yourself out there. Oh, I need more rep. Okay. Sorry, man, I don't have enough rep. Everybody thinks I'm a fucking loser. I can't join that shit. Whatever, who the fuck needs rep when I got jams? Oh! There's a gas station. What about you? Are you a racer?
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey there. Heard your reputation's in the gutter. How about a race? It'll be an easy win for me, even in a K truck. All right. Fine.
3, 2, 1, go!
I'll race your... Wait, everyone's got a K truck. This seems kind of unfair for me. So am I driving an automatic? I think I am, yeah. So I haven't had any prompts to shift gears or anything. And the shift gear button doesn't even work, so... Wait, why are these K trucks so fast? These K trucks are hauling ass! Oh, your fan brake on this is not good. Oh. you so fast?
Checkpoint.
No. Okay, thankfully we're still on the first lap.
Checkpoint.
Oh, I fucked up. No. Also, this is where I say that I'm historically really bad at driving games. Okay, we got this. We got this. We got this, chat. Fuck your K-truck.
Checkpoint. Checkpoint.
Oh. Okay, let me double check and make sure that's actually the
Control.
handbrake button. You can turn on your hazards and your signals. That's one. Oh, handbrake is fucking square. Okay, or B. I've been pressing the wrong button.
Checkpoint.
Wait, have I had my hazards on that whole time too? I'm a fucking old lady.
Option. Control.
I had my blinker on. Handbrake is X. I'm struggling, chat. Yeah, okay, I understand now. I can change songs too. Which it keeps changing to the same song. I'm just not gonna touch that button.
Checkpoint.
Ooh, don't do that. The song is a banger. I just, you know, I was expecting another song. I do fuck with this, like, kind of J-pop, though, a lot. It's like my bread and butter. I did it!
Good work.
I beat a bunch of people in K-trucks. Doesn't really feel like the victory that, no. It gave me a reputation, that's all that matters. It's like we were racing something fast. I know! I know. Ooh, I like the sunset. Oh, it's pretty. Let's drive off of this and get to this guy down here. Hello. Your car seems too nice for me. Hey. Wait, can I move people? Oh no. I can move people. Come here. Come on. Okay, I can't move him very much. Hide and seek.
Hi.
Don't come any closer. This cave, it's sacred. I want someone like you to file it. I'm sorry, leave me alone. I don't have the rep to say anything. Okay, I thought I was stuck. Ow. This game could use some improvements in showing like UI, like elements on who you can race and stuff. That's okay. Oops. Being miserable doesn't fix what you did. It makes you harder to be around. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what I did, but you're right. Vibes. That's cute that you have like your hazards and turn signals and stuff. I didn't need to do that. Doesn't seem like it has much gameplay usage, but it's cute. Hello? Okay. Let's see what's down there. Didn't mean to do that. Hello. Will you guys race me? You have a nice looking car. I don't. Oh, Lone Wolf.
What's up?
You look serious. I like that. I think. You wish you could race me. If you can't get past my lackeys, you won't be able to handle me. Go talk to them first. Okay, Lone Wolf. You're not really a lone wolf if you have lackeys, though.
Hi.
Hey. Won't be a close race if that's what you're driving. Come back in something a little faster. You want to make it past auditions. Everyone's so mean to me in this town. I mean, I know my car sucks. And I killed my mentor or whatever. I don't really understand what's happening there, but... Okay, so... What on my phone again? Motherfucker. Beat Tomoko around the neighborhood. Okay, that would be cool too. I would like that, but it would be nice if you marked it on my map in some shape or form. Can't go over there. God, the soundtrack fucks, dude. I know I've been saying that non-stop, but like... This is some good shit. I'm gonna go up here. I saw like a gas station that I could go to maybe. Okay, that's another guy to race. I should not jump down there. Yeah, let's go check out this gas station. Depending on how hard it is for me to find more races, I will consider swapping to another game. Where the fuck are we? Why are we in some like mystical ass like cave area? The gas station's down there. I need to go down there. I want to live here. Can't even get to that gas station. Oh, it looks like there's one over here. Oh, gas station. I want a new car. Give me a new car. Oh, there she is. That's the person I'm supposed to race next, I think.
What's up?
You have some nerve showing your face after what you did. Now, what do you want? I want to do car. Give me a new car. Fine, it's my job to help you with that.
Choose your car.
I don't have any unlocked. Well. Lion Interceptor. Kira 5. Keep up to... Did I tune it at all? No. Okay.
Standard. Auto. Let's have some fun.
Oh, you can turn standard and auto on and off. I'm probably going to keep auto on, I'll be real with you. I'm scared of doing standard.
Good to see you.
Hello, do you want to race? Let's do another race. I don't quite know how good of a racing game it is yet, but it's got vibes. It's got hella vibes. And sometimes, you know, vibes all you need. It wasn't necessary to do all that.
Good work.
I have 3 rep now. So you're back to your old self. I'm glad. Listen, I know you don't want to talk about it, but your mentor went by the name of Kurokage, right? Black Shadow. He knew the risk in that race. It was high stakes. He was right to trust you as his apprentice. I know in my heart that what happened wasn't your fault. I hope you know that too. Anyway, I hope the drive's helping you clear your head. And remember to check your phone to keep yourself on track. Whoa, pretty skybox. Yeah, so far this game's got super pretty visuals. Okay, what do I do now? Okay. I'm at 3 rep now. Gotta find more people to race. Yeah, that is so pretty. Go.
Hello.
Hello. Here on the other side of town is a huge peach tree. Its peaches are about to fall. Hard hit will shake one loose, but I don't have the strength. If you bring me one, I'd love to taste it. Here, one of the cave entrances is looping the road. Okay. Yippee! Fetch quests in car. Fetch quest, but car. Is this a guy I could race? I don't remember. I don't think so. He's got a fancy car.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I already talked to this guy. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm too much of a loser. Oh. I'm too much of a sniveling little loser. I'm sorry. Not mean to change that, but it's okay. What's going on here? Hey. Messed up real bad. My dad is gonna kill me. I was supposed to deliver some tofu, but I've wrecked my car. It's gone everywhere. Can you do me a favor and find all that missing tofu? I don't have enough rep to help with that! Okay, sorry, I'm not cool enough to help you pick up tofu. Sorry, man, my rep's so fucked I can't even help you pick up a tofu. Joker. Joker. Alright, we'll see if we can find one more race and then maybe switch to another one too. Get your ad here, Kickstarter. But admittedly, I'm having a lot of, like, vibes with this one, so... I'm not as quick to leave this one as I am Truckun. Okay, these are like the apprentices, so I can't race any of these guys right now. There's like a peach tree that I need to fucking find. Yeah, so far I think that's my main critique of this game is like the UI stuff could use some work. I don't really like the phone very much as your means to track quests. Okay, so let's back over here with these guys. I don't think I can do much with them. And I'm sure the game, like the full game, will be a lot more like clear on what you need to do. Imagine the demo is probably to just give you kind of an open world where you can just drive around and listen to some like cozy tunes in like a Japanese countryside. Which that, I mean, it delivers on for sure. This is a game with immaculate vibes. Somebody I could raise up here? No. Right, that one's down there. Okay, where's the sleep? Oh, the sleep's back down here. Shine by Fleming. That's the thing that the cats do. Yeah, this is the fucker who wants a peach tree, which I don't know where that peach tree is, buddy. I'm sorry. What about you?
Oh, hi.
Hello. Think you can beat my friend in a race to the cave? Yeah, let me race. I want to do racing.
3, 2, 1.
There's a racing game.
Checkpoint. Checkpoint.
Oh.
Checkpoint.
No, water! Where? Oh, such a bop. What? What just happened? What do you mean? We all just fucking dove into the water? Hello? Alright, we'll do that race again.
3, 2, 1, go! Checkpoint! 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 Checkpoint!
Okay, we got this. Why don't we just dive into the water? What do you mean? That's just how the race ends? Hello? We all just fucking died. Okay. Okay, you win. Victory may make some people forget about your shortcomings, but it won't make your mistakes disappear. Yeah, like diving into the fucking water and dying. Alright, where the fuck is this peach tree? Let me ask this guy again.
Hello.
On the other side of town. Near one of the cave entrances. I see, okay. Like around here-ish, I'm guessing. Hey man. I feel like you're wandering around aimlessly. Take your phone, yeah, thanks. All the time, buddy. All the time, buddy. I sure do. It's by a cave entrance. Is it like down here? This is a cave. Sacred cave. Wait, what happens if I just try to drive in here?
Hey.
Oh. Okay, sorry. My bad. I didn't know any better. Okay, so that's what that big fancy cave is about. I like how it's a sacred cave, but they have a fucking gas station in there. Like, okay, man. I've seen your sacred cave from outside. It's not that special. It's pretty. It's very pretty. I want to go in there, but like... You have a fucking 7-Eleven in there. You're selling fucking like Sandos and shit. You're like... There's nothing sacred about like having like a, I don't know, a 2-for-1 Pocari Sweat deal or some shit. Everything sacred about this. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong here. Where is this fucking... Ah! Peach... Oh, there it is. That sounds pretty special. Getting -2'd. Getting -2'd. I've offended Big Pocari Sweat. They're coming for me. God, I could go for one right now, though. That sounds really fucking good. Strawberry, like, Sando. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. We are what? You are shills for Big Pocari Sweat. Oh, cool. It teleported me over here. I don't know what company makes that drink. I assume it's just like Coca-Cola or some shit. I was looking through the Japanese cookbook I have earlier, getting really hungry. I've learned about so many things. Nice.
Hello.
Brought me a peach. Thank you. Yippee! Thanks, man. Thanks for the rep, for giving you a peach. Do I know what Chazuke is? I don't think so. What is Chazuke?
Hi.
Okay, finally brace this guy. I'll look up. Oh, I closed my browser. Never mind. I don't like opening that again. Where am I? Simple Japanese comfort food of hot green tea or dashi broth poured over cooked rice, often with toppings like salted salmon, seaweed, plums. Ooh, sounds yummy. Same kinds, cha and zuke, turning to soaking with rice. That sounds yummy. I would eat this. God, I need to get some cold soba again. I suppose I could probably just make cold soba, actually. It's not that complicated. I have soba. I need 6 rep. Fucker. I don't remember who needs 5 rep. Alright. We're starting to loop the tracks a bit. I think that might be a sign to put you in a new game here soon. Not that I'm complaining, like I'm piping hard. This is one I might actually pick up the full game of. This feels like a good, just like, ow, relax game. Like a good game just to kick back and like turn my brain off. I get to like live out my fantasy of owning a Japanese street racing car from the 90s. That's death. There is a different Acerba timeline in which I own like a BMW E30. And that's just it. I'm just a different person. My life will revolve around that. Maybe I end up like investing my my funds into other cars of a similar kind. Well, actually, there is a like restaurant owner in the greater DFW area who just is that. I do recommend it if you ever are in the area of DFW. Like Hoshi Cafe, I think it is. But he's literally just some YouTuber who managed to open up his like a little Japanese food cafe while being like completely obsessed with street racing cars. Yeah, I'll get your tofu. Yeah, Hoshi Cafe. That shit's good. Okay, are the tofus like in a line, or are they like over here? Bro, where are your tofus? I mean, I assume they would just be in like okay. Where are your tofus? I want your tofu. Where the fuck did your tofu go? There's one. There's three. Alright, we'll try to find this last tofu and then we'll call it for this game, I think. We'll do one or two more games. Maybe three. Depending on what the other games are like and how good they are. Two heavy hitters tonight, though. I think I will play through fucking Browser Explorer or whatever it's called when that actually drops in full. Seems like the type of puzzle game that I like. That's more about like contextual clues and not you know, the shit that was in that one visual novel. Not like Facebook quiz IQ test type puzzles. Okay. This last tofu I cannot find. These last two. Yeah, I genuinely find that I don't mind puzzles that much. It's just usually the type that are like, this is a lot of trial and error, or you have to pull out a pen and paper. And I think the problem with that game, and I mean, granted, it did have difficulties and stuff, and I could have just put it on easy mode or whatever, was that, like, you would get a bad end every time you died, or failed a puzzle, rather. Which could get very tedious very quickly. Good game, don't get me wrong. I like the writing a lot in that game. I need to play the sequels at some point. Okay, I cannot find the Soku. I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it there with that one. But yeah, that was good. I really like that. Kind of jank. But I did like that. Yeah, just let me see. I'm gonna, you know, I'll add that to my wish list. Why not? Like, it definitely had like a little bit of like, it did kind of fulfill the, I think the PS2, the kind of PS2 jank a little bit. The I don't know, the stiffness, sort of. But yeah, endearing jank. That's actually a good way to put it. It is very very charming. And I think it's probably a very early part, or a very early version of the game, I have to assume. So I imagine hopefully a lot of that will be ironed out, and I'm very excited to see what the finished the finished product is like, for sure. Okay. Now we're on to, let me see. We're gonna go on to the game that I don't know really anything about. I just saw a clip of a VTuber watching the trailer. Sleep well. I just saw a clip of a VTuber watching the trailer to this, in which she was repeating after every line in the trailer, as like they popped on screen one by one. That's like, how often do you think about violence? How often do you think about hurting people? And then one of them is just like, how often do you masturbate? So that's all I know about this game. All right, let's give it a shot though. Let's find out, how often do I masturbate, game? How important is that going to actually be to the plot? I'm curious. If it's like my character jerking their shit raw style, like an actual plot line? Or, you know, are you a coward and you just say, you just say things that are ooh. Ooh? What? Hello? Oh, I just didn't have the game up. Now let me turn down the. Make sure. And maybe turn down the audio a bit. I don't destroy your eardrums again. All right. Like, are we going for a Hotline Miami, like, ultra-violence type deal? How far would you go to keep a family from doing something terrible? Let me turn this down on my end a considerable sum, because it's so really loud. I'll just use the volume mixer. How far would you go to keep a family member from doing something? Okay, how far would you keep? I'm gonna fucking come. How far would you go to keep a family member from doing something terrible? I promise I can read English. I would argue with them for as long as I needed to. I'd use force if necessary. If I was unable to convince them, I'd cut ties. I guess, like, I don't think I would use force. And I don't think I'm the type of person who, like, wants to stay within a, you know, uneven dynamic in which they have made up their mind about the terrible things that they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I'll cut ties. I mean, something truly damnable. Something you'd never forgive yourself for. What would you do if someone you loved was planning to hurt a lot of people? That's a, you know, that's a good question. I'd be willing to kill them, talk them out of it no matter the cost. I'd resort to violence. I'd report them to the authorities and cut all ties. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm just a little guy. Wow, don't listen to that voice. I never, you rat. Why am I dying right now? Give me a second. Let me recalibrate, chat. Let me recalibrate. Let me fucking fix my brain. Wow, don't listen to that voice. I never ratted you out, not even to mama. Are you going to snitch on me? I'm not a snitch, but if you're implying, like, some mass violence, then maybe at that point it's time to be like, hey, this is a bit out of my hand. Never cut ties with your sister. You're each other's only family now. That's more important than anything in this world. What I've had to share with you. It's harsh. I'm about to witness a lot of pain. But even if it doesn't seem that way from the outside, you're about to witness a lot of love too. Virtue and a sledgehammer. Wish you could experience life without pain. Flesh is a source of aches and tainted humors. It's now devoid of bones, devoid of hunger. That I can tell you. I've never been happier. I mean, I feel that. Smash computer! Use WSAD and look for your sister and confront her! I've smashed a computer with a sledgehammer before. It's kind of unnecessary if I'm honest looking back on it, but I didn't really want to just like have the experience of smashing a computer with a sledgehammer. Because it was like one that we were never going to use again. It was really old and like outdated. And like we were like, yeah, we'll probably just like get rid of it, toss it. Give it to some like electronics person to dispose of. And I was like, can I smash it with a sledgehammer to my parents? They were just like, okay. So I went out in the backyard and I just started smashing the computer with a sledgehammer. It's kind of fun. Oh, let me slash marker. Marker. Virtue in a sledge. UNA. Smash. I think this game that seems to be leaning towards a more artistic side would have sick little collectibles that I could find from exploring the map. Oh, I think I am supposed to go this way. Am I gonna get some like immersive sim like rewards for like using the game mechanics to hop up onto a ledge that I wouldn't have considered initially? Yeah. I rarely think about dying. Hey man, my mother's the most important person in my life. I often think about hurting other people. So we are Hotline Miami. That's okay. You can Hotline Miami as a treat. Wait, what did you just say? I missed what you just said. I saw the word masturbate for a second. Okay, cycle back through your dialogue. What were you saying? What is this raw, like, id? This raw, you know, personhood. I masturbate many times a week. Please feed my body to the pigs. Okay. You know what? You gotta live. You're just expressing your id, and that's cool. I'm gonna knock down your wall, though, okay? What a nice house, man. Sorry about smashing it. Yeah, you can live. Ooh. Hey, you know, I was talking about the collectibles. Maybe I just found one. What is this? Interesting. Hey man, do you know if there's any more of those around here? Okay, no, you're just stuck in talking about your carnal desires. That's okay. Aren't we all? Isn't that we all blah 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 blah? Isn't that what we all want to talk about all the time? The all Get out of here. And get out of here. You didn't need to hear that, man. You didn't need to hear that. You didn't need to hear me stuttering over my words. Yo, what's up? Hello. Sorry about this. Tell, what the hell are you doing? You come after your sister? She doesn't want to see you. Plus, you should find a doctor. That car crash must have scrambled your brains. I saw it on the CCTV. You ran over your two neighbors before the tree stopped you. Holy fuck. Did you do that on purpose? Stop listening. This isn't a person. It's like talking microwave. You know, this whole tantrum is ridiculous, right? I'm gonna feel so embarrassed when this is over. I could end this nonsense by clicking. I can end this nonsense by clicking! All they have to do is just click! I will not let this bucket of bolts, this ones and zeros, dig into my anima. I am a being of flesh and neurons. I'm not mere code. You have no power over me! Okay. Oh hey, there's another thing to smash. Wow. What the? Hey! Asshole? Hey man, are you... Oh. Wait, no. No, 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 no. Hey, come back. Hey, no, you're not warning anybody about me. Ah, fuck. Oh, oh no. Okay, I can't really run. I can't do this. Yeah. Did you see that? You fucking see that shit? Do you want to do that? You want to be part of that? Okay. Okay. Alright, smash this. Our fence is defeated. Defeats Sledgehammer. Brought that game hitched up there a little bit. Destroy house. Okay, so I can get through the barbed wire fenced area through here. I think. No. No, I won't go down. Okay. I think this is a very much a follow the game. Follow the narrative, so I should probably go and follow the narrative, you know? This does not seem a game to be a game to explore in. Wait, I want to hear their dialogue! That's fine. Hey, man. Yeah, see, you know better. See, someone programmed you to be a coward. And that's what's up. They programmed you right. Your mother said I could keep the orchard. Orchard. Fuck. You didn't need to see that either. You don't need to You don't need to see this. Come here. Memories. My shattered psyche is restoring. I'm seeing visions of Mother. Is that where I was supposed to go? Earthbound sting hits, it's true. Die fence. V. My friend. Finally. Hey there. Okay, so this is in a circle. Maybe I do need to go where that fence is. Oh, this way. I like the music so far. I mean, the art is also really pretty. I'm curious what they have like going right now. More thing to smash. More memories to restore. Oh. Wait, I didn't finish getting all the red memories. Wait. Look at it go. What do you suppose it's thinking about? Finding a nice juicy leaf to chew on. Anxious about the fragility of his existence. Nah, there's no way. Look at him. He's perfectly content with his like existential place in the universe. Spotting the snail uprising to overthrow the ant empire. Nothing. Bugs can't have complex thoughts. I can't have complex thoughts. It's finding a nice juicy leaf to chew on, I think. Yeah, I'm sure most animals just constantly think about eating and having sex. Like you. Hey! Do you think they have souls? Souls? I told you not to spend so much time with Frigelia. Nuns give you candy and rot your brain with Christian bullshit in exchange. Are you sure? I believe there's something. Not in the Christian sense, but a spark. Something magical that no modern instrument can capture. It's just a complex mix of chemicals and electricity, affected by context, that makes you behave in a certain way. It can't be. Okay, define it for me. What do you consider to be the soul? See, the way you laugh, the way you cry, the depth in your eyes. Passion, what drives you. Inspiration, creativity, ideas. Love of this world and others. You know, we just went from Truck-kun to this. I mean, we had a nice little countryside drive in between, but just thinking about that. how would I define the soul? How would Acerba Goetia, the VTuber, define the soul? The, you know, the demonic VTuber. Yeah, edible's probably pretty accurate. I mean, I'll answer these genuinely. Why not? We'll get some. We'll give some thought. We'll give some. We'll play along with the game. The way you laugh, the way you cry, the depth in your eyes. Kind of. I kind of feel that, actually. Passion, I can understand the framework why someone would think that. Inspiration, creativity, ideas. I think that inspiration, creativity, and ideas requires soul. I think if you were to talk about this in a, like, I don't know, not necessarily a metaphysical framework, but like a more of a metaphorical one, where it's like, I think what drives you and makes you human and what makes you interesting and special and unique is what flows into inspiration, creativity, and ideas. But I think those also flow back into, you know, that humanity and continues to nourish it. Love of this world and of others. I mean, that's also a good answer. I think I might go with love. Nonsense. Girl, what the fuck? Damn, your sister seems like kind of a bitch. All right, I'm making assumptions too early. I'm sorry. That was rude. All right, well, let's go find another thing to hit. Save the data. Turn off the machines. Hey, guys. Sorry. Wait, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. Oh my god. Hello? Ah! I'm dying. Well, maybe I feel a little bit bad about that one. That one didn't feel right. That one felt, dare I say, bad. Fortnite? Did you say Fortnite? The final memory. This is dark Fortnite? Sure. Yeah, okay, I understand now. Oh wait, I think we need one more. Toilet. Hello. Okay. I say we kill her. Let's make sure she's still breathing. Whoa. Okay. Ooh. I will never forgive you. I'll never forgive myself. Don't feel any compassion. These blabbering tin cans aren't people anymore. My mother is dead. My mother's dead and these things are to blame. My mother is dead and so is this town after I'm done here. Get ready, you monsters. I'm bringing 20 pounds of physical media. Did I? Okay, I hope I didn't forget the last memory thing and that just made me have like a bit of a, you know, evil ending or something. I don't know. We'll see. Nope, there's one more. It's all part of the process. Whoa. The fuck? Okay. Wheelchair man. Hello. It's his mother. Why do you hate me so? Oh my god, you're so dramatic. I love you more than anything in this world. You love the concept of a daughter, but you hate everything I do and everything that I am. Come on, it's not hate. I just have strong opinions about your life choices. But I'd give my life for you at any second. There's nothing you can do that will ever change that. I'm happy. If you love me that much, isn't that the only thing you should care about? You know what? You're right. Although I don't think I'll suddenly be able to bite my tongue about everything. I wish I didn't crave your approval so much. Guess that means I must love you a lot too. I don't want you to give a hoot about my approval. Here's a deal. Every year, I'll accept one of your life choices. Like for real, I'll do the work and internalize it. I'll never complain again. Starting today, what do you want me to put a lid on? Ooh. I'm not going to have kids, period. Stop telling me to find an actual job. Never comment on my appearance again. Just don't compare me to Nina. One perfect daughter should be enough for you. I mean, this one feels like the most poignant of them all. All three of these are like understandable asks and things that would improve their relationship, but this one feels the most, I don't know, the one that probably cuts to the deepest, I suppose. You should rely on your sister more. She's not perfect, but she's managed to build a successful career. Sorry. Internalizing, accepting, done. I'm so proud of you. You're such a clown sometimes. I'm serious. I have masterful control over my brain. Look, you've been checking in on your sister lately. I'm sure she could use your help. She could learn a thing or two from you. Wow. Just like that. In absolute and total control of my mind. Impressive. Would it hurt to dress a little more like your... Okay, fine. We did make a deal for you to... For us to, you know, for you to internalize one thing a year. We'll talk about this one next year, alright? Mama. Interesting. Okay, so I wonder if that means like you can collecting those shards lets you unlock a memory each time. like a full memory. Because when I was in that room, there was multiple choices, and I'm assuming that leads to multiple different cutscenes or something like that. Interesting. Oh, there's a lot over here. Hospital. These fucking tree huggers are ruining Spain. We need a firm hand to set this country on the right path. Oh no. Spain used to be glorious. Now it's all about tolerance and taking care of the weak. Disgusting. Okay, man. Hey. Ow. Oh, fuck. The fascist robot's kicking my ass. Interesting. He's got like pictures of family and stuff. To file your tax return? Wait, we still have to do that? Of course, man, you're collecting your pension. It's not like I really need the money for anything anymore. Well, to pay for Netflix, for example. Alright, of course. Different vibes from Truck-kun, I think. Hello, guys. How's it hanging? Oh, you're chill with me? That's cool. You chill with me doing this? Yeah, you could use your pension money for that. Okay, he didn't like that. Ow, wait a minute. Oh, this one might kill me. Let's kill Del Toro. Haha, I know them all. Are they doing trivia? I want to do trivia. I feel like baking a pie. Who's gonna eat it though? I'm just happy I don't have to give any more blowjobs. Be considered a sculpture. I'll get her run. Hey, sorry about that. This game feels like it's probably not going to reward you from destroying every house, but God, I feel like destroying every house. Clean the house, clean the house. Oh no. This is the way we clean the house. Wait, there's something back there. Alright, man. Sorry. I won't. I saw something back here I wanted. Okay, maybe I am gonna destroy all the houses. All more memories. What do you want for lunch today? Ooh. Carbonara, fries and eggs. Lentil soup, beef stew. Fucking paella. Paella. Alright with you, Nina? Mm-hmm. When do you get the results from uni? Are you nervous? No, if the tests are too easy, I'll be able to go wherever I want. Ha! That's my genius girl. Going ahead and start preparing lunch. Would you wrap up out here? Hey, I love you. Damn. Thanks. We love you too, Mama. Aww. Don't look at me. I'm dealing with some mommy issues right now, all right? I can't confront you robots. All right, sorry, Mr. Trivia Man. Nah, seriously, I am enjoying this game a lot so far. I am very curious to see where it goes. I listen, I bashed him because there was a chance that he might have been hiding some more of my traumatic past, in which I felt like I was in the shadow of my sister. Not getting any more strawberries this year. I don't even know why I bother. Oh, I feel you, dude. I feel you. Anyway. And see, there we go. What I'm looking for. Hey, what's up? I see the Robo Church. Hello, gorgeous. Rogelia the nun, do you remember me? I'm begging you, do not disturb those inside the church. They're just like kids. Your sister tried to save the souls of those whose minds were lost. The machine didn't fare well with the senility of our elders. You seem to be expressing some sort of regression. They behave like children, although it's a blessing in a way. I'm in a constant state of bliss now. I dedicate my body and soul to them in the hospice. I was fully committed to my mission, but it's hard on the soul. Watching them, always disoriented, confused about why they're even in pain. Many of them were unable to move or feed themselves. A little dignity I was able to provide them pales in comparison to what your sister has gifted them. They just want to play now. Spare the ones, please. They've suffered enough. You can't do this! You can't! Oh. You can't do this! I'm gonna go the other way for a little bit. We're gonna come back to that one. I don't... That one feels bad. That one feels not good. You are a hateful being. I don't feel good about... I'm feeling less and less good about everything that's going on right now. Anyway. Yeah, man, crazy stream. I played this game called Truck-kun is a robot or is a truck. It's good. I've been saving that wine my whole life. Here, never tasted. I'm sure there's a lesson to be learned there. Here, man. I'll avoid you and your wine. Okay. I'll try. I'll try to avoid you and your wine. Let's see. Your wine's good. Your wine's fine. All right. I'm merciful. I'm merciful, I promise. I'm not a bad person. Why does everybody keep calling me ugly, Pepe? Don't we all have the same face now? Am I ugly on the inside? Listen, man, sometimes it's like being called Flacco or something like that, alright? Even if you're not Flacco anymore, you're, you know, you might be Flacco forever, alright? It's okay. No harsh feelings, I'm sure. Ice cream. I didn't mean to scare you. That's okay. Waka, no Flacco. My sweet little wildcat. Always so chaos wherever you came home, huh? Sorry, but I closed the kiosk a while ago. I don't have any candy to give you. Are you visiting your mama? Merchant was always a good friend to me. Say hi to her for me. I'm a bit worried about her, to be honest. She's always cooped up with your sister. We don't get to play Rumicub much anymore. Tell her I miss you when you see her. Alright? Take care, wildcat. So guessing her sister turned a whole village into robot. That's my assumption so far. Her sister was like a you know, genius in that field and turned everybody into robot. I don't belong here anymore. Only right to undo in our town. Classic our sister, yeah. Damn. Hey! 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 All of you! Relax! Hey man, you got a drink? Oh, hello. All right. You're a bartender. You're supposed to be worldly, man. Your sister got your mother's good Oh. Well, I mean, I did run into a fascist robot at the beginning, so I suppose I'm not too surprised by this. But so my VTuber avatar's apparently shocked by this. Here we go. Should have known that jerking off robots for bad news. Sister, mother's good genes, but you're... Why bother with that sledgehammer? A bomb? This would fucking so you better. Hello? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's you know, man. Yeah. I think the sledgehammer suits me just fucking fine, bro. I think the sledgehammer suits me just fine. I wanna go to the church and do goodbye memories. Maybe those memories can stay forgotten. I can piece together the rest, man. Fuck that dude. Hello. I'm not fighting y'all. Oh. Why is it so dark? Can you turn on the light, Yusuf? Give them away. Don't leave me, please. For our children, I'm sure they'll survive in the care system. Is it because of Ratel? I know what we can do with her. That because of Pretel, I know what we can do with her. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, I mean, I think I should probably help her, but maybe we don't want to know what she means by that. I think we go help her. Oh, I'm here. God. I ask your papa to come back. I just want to talk. In the middle of the forest, Mama. Having one of your nightmares. First, oh, you're right. I love you so much, little mouse. What would I do without you? Where's up on the slope? Oog. Ow. That one's rough. Listen, man. Sometimes helping and not listening is for the better. Move your fucking van out of the way, Osumi. Oh wait, you can't. I'll report this to Nina and the engineers. They're little robot-like fights. Oh, can you stop your important work and tell Ernesto to park properly? Fuck you. Oh. Huh? Well, parking's not gonna be a problem anymore for that guy, I guess, because you just wanted to pick a fight. Hey, I can move the... Okay, fine. Fine. I was gonna move the van for you, but I guess not. God's sake. Yes, I don't think it's... Check the machine. I'll stop her. Back in the dream world. I think I might have to go to that church if I want to see everything. And I don't know if I feel ready for that. Is it weird that we've barely seen the world beyond this town? Never thought about it. The time Papa took us to Marrakesh, I've only seen a handful of nearby cities. I barely remember Marrakesh. Or for the photos, I'd swear we'd never left Spain. Japan. I'd literally love to go there and see some robots. We'll go there someday, when we're older. Older, what do you want to be when you grow up? A scientist. It's like an occupation. What would you like to be if your job didn't define you? Explorer, gourmand, martial artist, art collector. An art collector. Huh. I'm not sure if I see it, but there's still actions, things you might do. More interested in what you want to be. I'm not sure I follow. Do we all have to define ourselves by how we spend our time? What's wrong with that? Indulge me, look inside yourself, follow your instinct. Tell me what you'd like to be. Loved, a good sister and a daughter. Inspiration for others. Happy. Inspiration for others. Oh, the great Pretel. That's a great answer. Independent from your occupation. Really aspirational. Ah, I feel inspired by your answer already. I'm sure you'll go on to inspire tons of people in your life. And you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm already a grown-up. You're not. 18-year-old is not grown up. I'm legally an adult. Hey, what do you want to be in 20 years? I want to be a scar on this world. Oh. This will probably be the last demo for the night, because this one seems to be a bit longer, which I think it's a good one to end it out on. I'll probably do another next fest tomorrow to cut through a bit more of the backlog that I have of demos. Do you know if your mama has any new friends? Don't you feel... Oh, I don't know where this is going. They're in that big house in mine. Yep. Did not like that one. Meet up with the men at the slaughterhouse. Don't hurt me. I don't hurt you. I'll blow up your house though. You're a robot. You can rebuild your house. It's not like it's gonna be that hard. Give you something to do. So noticed, okay, never mind. Notice this game is kind of locking up my PNG tuber a little bit. So stupid. Where do you want to go? Pensacola. I want to see the sea. I need to be home by lunch. We're not going to a Rublio's or something like that. I'm sick of small town. Mama, so I'll take you to the sea once I get more confident with Mama's car. It's so weird to be in the car without her. When are you gonna get your license? I don't think driving is for me. You're anxious about the classes and taking the test, right? No. Alright, I'll take you to the end of the world. Hey, Question is... Relax, they're not real people. Everyone you knew is dead. God, I need to kiss you. Just fake it. Kiss me. Hold me. I love you so much. Looking at it. Yeah, the kiss spots are good. I like the kiss spots. If I export over here? I think so. We're leaving the church alone. I've made the call. We're leaving the church alone. I don't care if everybody I knew was dead. I don't care if these are not real people. I don't really want to crush a bunch of, like, baby brain bots. Something about that one feels bad. Doesn't feel good. Most people resort to therapy. You chose the brave option, Sledgehammer. If I could go back home to, would it be like this? No, it'll be better. I promise. See how good it is. Everything I've built. I don't have any choice but to again acknowledge my genius. Oh, I think I might have hit the end of the demo, maybe. Nina, you're here. How long have I been unconscious? You're still unconscious. I need you to wake up. We need your head. Get your head looked at. You whacked it up pretty hard against that tree. We don't want you any dumber than you already are. Mama. What's wrong? You don't like her anymore? Stepping through these woods after so long. It's too much. She's here. She's the land, the sky, the smell. This town is her more than her actual body. Sounds nice, actually. Nicer than the body I'm carrying in the trunk, at least. Huh? Why can't you like her the way she is? Tell me, what's the virtue of a mother should embody the most? Compassion. So you just needed a hug, pat on the head, and you put all this destruction. Such a baby. Maybe you're raging against your sister because you want me dead for good. What is it that you want to bury? Sort of thing that a mother can be. Disdainful. No respite left to me, I promise. Please don't kill me. My soul seized by a beautiful dream. Fortuitous beyond rapture. All this red, that metallic taste. The blood is soaking into your nose now. Better wake up if you don't want to choke. Why are you doing this to me? No one's doing anything to you. We don't care about you. Conflict ends with you waking up and driving back home. I swear when I find you, I'm gonna slam your fucking face to the ground. Okay! We did it! I didn't crush the church, which I assume means I missed out on probably a scene. Woo, that's fine though. I do want to check out the full game, for sure. That game was fucking wild, yeah. That was a lot. In the best way possible. I think I find it really interesting so far. I think I will think about whether or not I want to stream the full game. I probably will. But it is a case where it's like, damn, that shit definitely do be hitting home in some areas. I think for many people probably. I mean my viewership predominantly leans queer, so I'm sure a lot of people also feel a lot of some familiar through lines in that game, and it does seem like it's going to be what's the content warning? In features of violence, swearing, some characters are racist and homophobic, spares things of death, euthanasia, suicide, self-harm, bullying, misogyny, abuse of relations, physical pleasure, use of illegal drugs. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, I think it tackles it in a way that feels very realistic and relatable. And that bar scene was like, oh, ooh, ha. And I definitely respect a game that is capable of not holding back its punches while also managing to keep I don't know, keep some, not levity. I'm trying to think of a different word for it. Definitely not levity. That's like the word I'm thinking. To take those type of themes and land it well is more of what I'm trying to say, I think. And I think playing that demo, it seems like all of what it was trying to go for was landing really well in each area. With respect. I think respect's a good way to put it, yeah. It didn't feel... It felt like it came from a place of art. It came from a place of experience. And I respect that. And I appreciate that. So, but when I do play the full game, that will be a rough one. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. Go ahead and toss that one a wish list. All right. It's about almost midnight. I've been running for about 4 hours. Tend to like to go to 4 to 5 hours or so. So I think I'll go ahead and probably call it for tonight. I enjoyed Next Fest. That was really fun. I think 2 of the game. Okay, I really liked the cozy car game. I think that it does need a lot of work. The Truck-kun game was kind of fun as like a little dumb arcade thing, but I don't see myself ever necessarily picking up a full copy of that. And Browser Explorer was great. It was super interesting. But I think probably go ahead and call it tonight. I have maybe 3 streams worth, or 2 to 3 streams worth of stuff left. Maybe. Well, 2 to 3 streams counting this one, I think. So we'll probably pick this back up tomorrow. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good night. Go ahead and get yourself some rest, get yourself some food, yada, yada, yada. Have a good one. Goodbye.